He's serving as an assistant professor at the University of Sannio in Benevento, Italy. His research interests are focused on computational and intelligent systems to their engineering in particular. His PhD thesis regards the application of aggregation operators to software quality assessment. He is the coordinator of CISE lab at University of Sannio, aimed at involving students in research activities and experimenting the application of intelligent systems in industrial environments. He is also a member of IEEE Computational Intelligence Society and IEEE Computer Society. We welcome you, sir, for our conference. And now I request Dr. S.D. Bhosle, sir, our respected principal, sir, to please illustrate Professor Lugi. Thank you, Principal Sir. And now the stage is all yours, Professor Lugi.
Thank you very much. Yes. Okay. Again, I'm very happy to be here. Thank you to organizers to make this event possible. And one of the reasons I'm here, I forgot to mention before, is because one of your colleagues, Mr. Bukrash, is a PhD student of Professor Teshbuk, is spending 2 years. He started a period of 2 years at our lab in Benevento. So this is a very good and practical example of international cooperation that can stand between Europe and India. So let's hope that this is only the beginning of future collaboration and cooperation programs. Okay, and so today I will talk about a nice simple thing that as any simple thing has many powerful properties. So I hope that today I will convince you that is something to investigate more. And this object is called F transform, fuzzy transform, and I will get introduced to their property and characteristics. But before, let me just spend a few words. I come from south of Italy. It is Aversa, that is my hometown. And so a few days ago, on Saturday afternoon, I started my journey to reach this your nice university. It took a long time. So I went on Google Maps and I said, okay, what is the route? And I made a computation about the route. And this is by walk. And I said, wow, that's really long walk. And it also a computation in terms of time. How many? Because it's 1,500 hours. Working 24 hours per day. So I said, okay, let's say that I am not in really good shape. I can take 6 hours per day, and it took me that I will need almost 1 year and a half to reach to your destination. But this is actually a data series. And we do love instead interpolation. Yeah? Because by interpolation everything becomes easier. So making an interpolation of data, we are able to make models that are very synthetic, elegant, predictable, and in some way they are able to minimize the information content inside. So today we speak about an object that is called fuzzy transform that is able to make this kind of work. And we will just go quickly through definitions. Then I will give you an outline of recent results that we are making in our work. And then I will just make let's say a path towards what are the future possibilities in deep learning for these mathematical objects. And finally, we will make some conclusions regarding the presentation. Okay, let's start with some basic definitions. So we have a closed interval AB and a number of nodes, points that we call nodes x1, x2, xn. So that x1 is equal to A, and xn is equal to B, and they are ordered. We call a fuzzy partition a collection of fuzzy sets, A1, Am, that they respect basically these properties. The most important things are that the AI, the xi is equal to 1, so this is a closed ring, and then it's continuous, and they are monotonic, but the most important thing is that they sum up to 1 along any point. This is what we call a Ruspini fuzzy partition. So, the function A1, A2, An are called basic functions, and there are some noticeable examples. For example, maybe the most used one is made of triangular shapes. So this is what we call egg functions, and here you can see the equations. But they are also common to have Z-shaped functions. Basically, they are sinusoids that are moving over the support of the function, and they give a smoother transition when they reach the modal point. But also we can use polynomials, Bernstein polynomials, so these prime as other functions. Here you can see, by the graphic, you can see what we mean basically for a fuzzy partition. So a fuzzy partition is a collection, as you can see here on fuzzy, and all of them they sum up to 1. Okay. For who is familiar with this, you know that you cannot use minimum and maximum as union and intersection of these sets because they're not worth find, but you can use Lukasiewicz T-norm and T-conorms instead of this kind to perform set operations, and they provide a very meaningful and consistent way of partitioning a set. Why they are interesting? Because they provide a focus, a local focus, on which we will put attention with a different degree So, a fuzzy transform, as been introduced by Perfieva in 2006, is basically a very simple object. It is a weighted average over the support of the function AB, where the weight is given by the set AIX. The collection of coefficients F1, F2, Fn is called the fuzzy transform. So we are moving from a continuous space to a discrete space. This is very important for computational intelligence applications, machine learning. This is an important issue. But what we can do is also to make the inverse transform. So we can move from the fuzzy transform, so from these tuple of values, back to a real function. And this is made, as you can see, only using the coefficients and the basic functions. Okay, this is what we are interested in, and we will look at properties of this function. We can, obviously, as we are working with data, we don't have continuous function to process, but we have a collection of data, so we will use the discrete F transport, that is basically just the application of the same equation before, but in the discrete case. It's important to observe that in this case, M must be much larger than N. This means that the data that we need, there should be enough dense within the support that we are distributing. And we can make, obviously, also the inverse of this function. Okay, now there is a nice interpretation of this equation, because we can look at them in terms of logic. So this means that if we consider u x is AI is a fuzzy concept represented by set. This means that fx is fi. If we consider all along all possible AI, the real system made by these sentences, and we apply Tagashi-Sugeno inference model that I recall you. I don't know how many people have been working with fuzzy logic up to now. Nobody? Okay, so okay. Basically, Tagashi-Sugeno inference is just a deduction mechanism used for fuzzy logic, and it's performing an interpolation of these values. So if we remember the inverse transform, what we get is that at the end of this logical process, so we are working with logic, with a logical representation, a semantic representation of our data, we are able to obtain an approximation of our function. But we can also have a graphical interpretation of this transform. And if this is our set, AK, and this is the fk coefficient associated with this one, this is representing a point that must belong to the function, because we say function f is continuous on a compact set, so the point for sure will belong to the curve, and this means that this is what we choose as representative for the whole function along the set subgroups. Does it make sense up to now? No, you are lost. Okay, let's say just that fk becomes one single point that will be representative for the whole function along this set. So we are compressing what is emerging from these properties, that we are compressing the information, because we are moving from a continuous function just to a discrete number of points. And these points are the most representative of the most informative point over the partition set AI. So, at the end, we have these properties that we should keep in mind once we will move to deep learning, because direct F transform offers a compression of F, as we saw. Even in the discrete case, we move from M that is much larger than N to N points, so that it becomes much smaller. And another important property is that the inverse F transform provides a universal approximation on F, and we will see what does it mean in a few moments. The inverse F transform performs a smoothing of F, so it performs a regularization of time series, if we are speaking about time series. And another good thing is that it provides a model of my data, so that by interpolation I can even integrate missing points. Okay, regarding compression, as I told you, we are moving from an infinite continuous or n-dimensional space to n-dimensional future space. What we say is that the function f defines an embedded nonlinear manifold. This is possible because we assume that inside the function there is an internal structure that we are able to extract in an orthogonal space made by fuzzy transform coefficients. Otherwise, this would not be possible. And as any other technique that are performing exactly the same kind of analysis, we are able to extract what is the meaningful information that we have inside the function. and the remapping between the two spaces, forward and backward, is only performed by the fuzzy sets. And fuzzy sets does not be made explicit, as for example the time series, because for the time series I need the value of the time of the series at each time. Instead, these are functional, so that we can just get in with a value and get out with what is the corresponding membership function. This is an important thing, so that we are really compressing information. At the end of this process, we get less information than before. And since they are triangular or zeta-shaped functions, they perform a nonlinear space reduction. This is another key feature if you would like to move to machine learning algorithms. If we don't have nonlinearity, we will never be able actually to build an effective machine learning algorithm. Okay. But they can have a locally linear space reduction. If you think, for example, to the triangular shape, you can directly imagine one. Okay, let's move to the next property, universal approximation. Universal approximation is one of the key components of neural networks, because we say that for each given an epsilon smaller as we want, there exists a model, in this case represented by a fuzzy partition A1, AN, such that the error that we have from the approximation and the original data can be smaller than epsilon. But, as in neural networks, this is only guarantee the existence of such a model. Does not provide any insight how to obtain the model. And this is the bad news. But what we know is that the fuzzy transform, this is one of the results expressed by Berfier, is a minimal solution to the error functional to this error function. So this is related to minimize the square error. Okay, improving approximation. How we can improve approximation? Because we say that it's a universal approximation. Well, it's quite easy. We just make the partition tighter to points, and by this proposition that we just proved some years ago, it's simple to prove that the limit, by increasing the number of n, so by increasing n, the limit by n going to infinity of this of the approximation function goes exactly to the function. So as far as we reduce, we make tighter the partition across points, we are able to get a better approximation. But at a given point, we must be careful, because we say that we like interpolation also because it's smooth. And so we should pay attention, because if we continue to approximate the function, we will start to get into the model the noise that are inside the data, and that instead we would like to reject. So this approximation should be good, but not that tight to the original data. And why this is the smoothing is possible? Because simply by computing, in this case, the power and the energy spectrum of time series, we just use a Gaussian generated time series. So we observe that computing the FT of the output, we get basically, as you can see, a low pass filter. I know that you are very expert of this field, so I would not like to say something wrong. But as we can see from this diagram, they they emphasize low frequencies, and that's the reason of having a smooth effect on data. Regarding interpolation, as I said before, it's easy to verify that if I have an xi point that is not belonging to the original series, I can easily compute it by this formula. So this means if there is a data point that I'm missing, I can produce it artificially by interpolation. Okay, so let's move now to some more recent results. Basically, I will give you some examples from how to move from this simple concept to more advanced properties. In particular, we will see something regarding how to make partitions adaptive to data, and then how to deal with dimensionality of input data, and how to build models over the fuzzy sets. All these three aspects, in my opinion, are key components in order to make the fuzzy transform a tool for modern machine learning. Because by this one, we are introducing a learning process. By this other property, we are dealing with the course of dimensionality that, especially for deep learning, is becoming is a concern to is an issue to take care about it. And regarding the regression model, we are able to build representative models of our data in a hierarchical way. Okay, let's start from the first point. Well, we can observe that even considering the endpoints, if they are equally distributed, they are not the best choice. If we are able to locate nodes properly with the same feature space, we are able to get a better representation of our data. And this is quite simple to understand why. Because they represent, partition nodes represent the only degree of freedom that we can control for reconstruction. And let's see what is the optimization problem that we are considering. So we are minimizing the square error of the function and its reconstruction, and we consider these simple constraints. So the constraints are that the nodes must be ordered, they must belong to the unit interval, and x1 is equal to A, xn is equal to B. Let's say that this is only for computation reasons, because after that we are able proportionally to distribute over any interval A. So, just using quadratic programming algorithm, we are able to solve the problem, and at the end of the optimization problem, we get a distribution of nodes that are able to minimize that error. Let's make with a very simple example. Okay, let's consider this exponential function, exponentially decreasing function. Okay, this is a function that you can see here. Okay. Now, this is the result that you get by uniform, and this is the result that you get by non-uniform function. This is the non-uniform partition that you get below, and this is the uniform partition that you get for this one. Okay, so you could say, well, this is nicer, because it's more regular, and but if we compute the square error, this is a better fit of data compared to this one. Okay, so we are using exactly the same quantity of information, but in a more clever way. So we are moving towards a machine learning algorithm. And here you can see the pointwise error and the cumulative absolute error for both the reconstruction. So as I anticipated you before, we have that by pointwise non-uniform sometimes has some spikes, but if we look at the cumulative absolute error that we obtain, you can see that non-uniform is performing So this cube is obtained by considering the absolute error, ordering in increasing magnitude, and then to sum up, to compute the cumulative sum. So as you can see from this cube, since the beginning, the non-uniform is performing better than uniform. Okay. Here you have other example for the same function, making tighter the partition, and as you can see, the tighter the partition is, both errors, the pointwise error and the cumulative absolute error, are improving as expected. This is not really surprising. And here you can see the same, this is a zoom for different parameters of the model, and we can see that non-uniform, this is considering m equal, so this is a different time series. This is made of 101 points as input, and this is 1001 points. The one is just because of extremes, in order to get 1000 interval or 100 intervals. And as you can see, the result is consistent independently by the number of points for the function. We can also move towards Z-shaped functions that are not triangular, and as you can see again, the results are confirming that this is improving the quality of reconstruction. Okay, this is another example of function. We get more or less the same results. Okay. Now let's speak a bit about multiple dimensions. Multiple dimensions means that we don't have anymore a function, a unidimensional function. So we don't move from R to R. We don't have just one-dimensional time series, for example. We have, for example, images. Can we apply the F transform to images? Well, yes, and it's quite simple. This is the result of applying the F transform and the inverse, so the reconstruction in a paper made by Perfileva, Novak, and Novak some years ago. And as you can see, the blurring effect is due to the smoothing effect that we have on the inputs. And this is the definition in 2 dimensions. We can verify that the product of 2 unidimensional fuzzy partition is Ruspini fuzzy partition is providing a bidimensional fuzzy partition. So this definition is perfectly consistent with the original idea of fuzzy platform and its inverse. But what is the problem? Is that if we increase the number of input dimensions, and this is very common in machine learning where the input dimension can become hundreds, or in some cases thousands of inputs, we need to deal with a very known problem in geometry. Is that by increasing the number of dimensions, the distance is losing the meaning, so that objects are becoming closer naturally. We cannot use anymore the distance as a decision rule in order to separate the space. This is a very well-known issue, and for deep learning, where we are considering very huge input spaces, emotion recognition is one of the fields. We should deal with this kind of problem. So what we did? We said, okay, let's move from a Cartesian definition that is made by this product to a radial definition. So that basically we are confusing the formula, because we are keeping in one-dimensional space. The one-dimensional space is given by the distance. Okay? So if we compute this, if we define a function lambda over the difference between the 2 vectors, we can apply a proper profiling function that will, by rotation, will provide the fuzzy sets. Oops. Here you can see the results that we can get by different number for different lambda and parameters of the function. Why these sets are different from a Ruspini partition? To understand that, we just need to make a mesh grid of these sets, a texture of these sets over the input space, and what we obtain is that they don't sum up to 1 anymore. So if we normalize one of these sets in order to make the sum with the neighbors, because it's important to understand these sets are overlapping. So if we normalize the sum to 1 for each overlapping section, we get very strange sets. That is, okay, it's not a nice picture in this. It's strange. It's like a strange cake with angular points on the. Here you can see the profile from the top, the level curves, and as you can see, there are some points that are collapsing. So there are discontinuity points that are making this object not very nice, as we saw before, for example, with triangular and Z-shaped functions. Okay, let's speak just a few words regarding representativeness of points. We say that Fi is the most representative point for the function along the set. Remember the design the graph that we saw before with the red curve? Okay. Are we sure that it's the most representative one? Actually, we are just making a weighted mean that from an engineering point of view is good, because it works fine. Because if something is more important, should weight more. If something is less important, should weight less. Let's make an average, and everything will work fine.